Hello, everyone. Most of you probably know me at this point. If not, my name is Evan Shutley, and the artifact that I did for my paper was the first presidential debate between then incumbent Vice President Al Gore and challenger George W. Bush. This debate occurred on October 3rd of 2000, and it was a very big and large pivotal point in the presidential race as a whole. But I'll explain that in just a bit. So to start, a little bit of background on the two candidates. Al Gore, before being, because he was Bill Clinton's vice president for all 8 years, but before this, he was a member of the Senate, and even before that, he was in the House of Representatives. So he has and continues to have a very lengthy and prestigious career in the political realm. George W. Bush, on the other hand, kind of came into this as a bit of a black horse because it's dark horse. That's the saying. I'm so sorry. He kind of came into this as a bit of a dark horse because he was only the governor of Texas for 5 years prior to his presidency, or prior to his run for presidency, and yes, eventually his presidency. Now, his dad before him, George H.W. Bush, George Bush Sr., had been president before Bill Clinton, so there was a little bit of weight to his name. But on the whole, Bush was kind of coming into this as the underdog, really. And a lot of news and media sources did highlight this. They all highlighted that Gore was the clear favorite for debates. In fact, there was actually a thing on This is a real thing. There was a counter on Al Gore's website of how many days George Bush had not debated him, because it was a long-running thing that Bush did not feel comfortable for the longest time debating Gore. But he eventually did. The debate took place, and to give a little setup on debates themselves, I'm sure you all know from reading the textbook as well. But debates do serve a lot of important purposes. They really introduce the general public to the candidates. They really they highlight both their strengths and weaknesses and put those at the forefront of the public eye. And so it can inform a lot of people, especially undecided voters, their decision about what to sway one, how to sway one way or the other. So debates do hold a lot of weight. The debate was televised, as was customary at this point. So getting to the actual debate itself, in a, I don't want to say in a surprising, well, it's difficult to put, because the way it kind of went is that, as I stated, pretty much everyone was kind of saying oh man, Gore's obviously going to be the better debater. He's got more experience in this field. But because of that, if you remember from the text, this lowered expectations for Bush and raised expectations for Gore. And as such, Gore admitted, openly admitted, there was a statement from him where he admitted that the expectations for Bush were too low. So there was no way that Gore himself could ever win the debate. And so they both came in and they both talked. I would say, so I watched the whole debate. And I would very adamantly state that they were on equal footing for the whole debate in terms of policies, politics, and talking points. Both had a few slip-ups here and there. I'd play you a clip, but this is going on YouTube, and I don't want to get copy striked on a video for a class. So I will just say I do believe that they both talked very evenly, on very even footing, which by extension made Gore look a little worse and Bush look a little better, because Gore was performing under what people expected and Bush was performing above what people expected. So it kind of balanced things out a lot. But that wasn't the biggest thing with this debate. The biggest thing with this debate was Al Gore's demeanor. And what I mean by that, periodically throughout the debate, Gore made a few incredibly questionable decisions. He was very verbal in his, I will call it, disdain for George W. Bush. At certain points throughout, while Bush is talking, you can hear Gore audibly sigh. I mean, like an audible sigh. At other points, they've got a two camera thing going on, and you can see Al Gore rolling his eyes at what Bush was saying. And so these sort of immature behaviors on the part of Gore really cast him in a negative light. Before this, he was kind of seen as, yeah, a bit of a straight man, but also was seen as very knowledgeable, very, like comprehensive of everything in the political spectrum. But after this really painted him in the light of being like a grim, stone-faced kind of no-nonsense, just, I know everything, I'm so smart kind of deal. And that killed his image. It really, like, it can't be understated how much this really did tank Gore's image. Bush, on the other hand, was very charismatic. He was charming. He talked with that typical Southern Texas twang, and people were kind of charmed by him. Like, they were, I don't want to say his simplicity, because that's the wrong word, but by his general demeanor. He seemed approachable and friendly. Now, it's hotly contested, like, whether or not this actually did swing, the votes or the election as a whole, but when you really look at it, this is one of the closest elections that has ever been seen by this country. And you have to wonder whether or not part of that did play into Gore coming across as kind of an arrogant and condescending jerk, you know? Public perception is everything, and this debate very much proved that that perception can really hamper you and, like, really impact you. So the aftermath of what Gore did during that debate really, I personally believe, really sank his ship. And there you go. That's my artifact. Hope you all learned a little bit. Thank you so much.